The obvious question that almost every single fan of this series has asked: why didn't Homura just kidnap Madoka? I mean, that's kind of what she did at the end of Rebellion, but we're talking about before Madoka became a god, back when she was a high school girl. Why didn't Homura just kidnap her and make sure she couldn't contract? Well, everyone always talks about that, but it would probably be a lot harder than we think it would be. So let's dive into it. Now, let's start off with it's been a particularly bad time loop for Homura. Something horrible happened, like it always does. She resets time, and this time she thinks that everything would just be better if she just kidnapped Madoka and brought her back to her apartment. Now, this seems like pretty dark for Homura to do. I mean, she did kind of kidnap Madoka at the end of Rebellion by stripping her of her goddess powers and trapping her on Earth, but that was after she turned into a witch and went through a lot. But then again, Homura's always been kind of screwed up. I mean, she nearly killed Sayaka, so this isn't that far-fetched for her. So she kidnaps Madoka, freezes time, breaks into her house, brings her back, and she leaves her in the apartment and figures, I'm going to keep an eye on her, she won't contract, she's going to be here the whole time, everything's going to be fine. Now, Homura still needs to go and fight witches to collect grief seeds, because if she doesn't collect grief seeds, the magic spent just keeping her body attached to her soul gem and working the way a magical girl's body should is costing her magical energy, so she needs grief seeds even if she's not really doing much. So she goes to get those during the daytime, during school hours, because I think if she's going to kidnap Madoka, she's going to stop going to school. So she's not going to school anymore. During school hours, she's out fighting witches, and then she comes home to Madoka. Now, the problem is, Kyubey still senses Madoka's potential. And even if Homura set up her apartment with a security system so that it would alert her phone if someone tried entering or leaving, Kyubey can teleport. So he would just teleport into Homura's house and go to Madoka and be like, I can grant you a wish. You can become a magical girl. All you have to do is form a contract with me. And Madoka would then wish for her freedom. So she would wish to be back home or something. And she would become a magical girl. Homura comes back from fighting witches. She sees Madoka's gone. She goes to look for her. She finds she's a magical girl. Okay. Homura did not expect Kyubey teleporting in her house to happen. So she sets time again. This time, when she leaves Madoka for the day, keeps her mouth gagged so that Madoka can't talk to Kyubey if Kyubey shows up. Kyubey shows up because he wants her potential, and he can telepathically communicate with her. I don't know if Kyubey needs it to be a verbal agreement for them to form a contract. Like, it needs to be spoken what her wish is. I think he could do it telepathically. So she telepathically wishes for her freedom, and Kyubey grants it. Homura comes back. She's like, yep, I forgot about the telepathy. Gotta do this again. She resets time. She kidnaps Madoka. This time, she makes sure that whenever she leaves the house, Madoka is drugged so that she's asleep when Homura is leaving. And Homura is very careful with this. She doesn't want to have it be so that Madoka wakes up before Homura comes back, and she also wants to make sure she doesn't accidentally make Madoka overdose. So Homura is very careful with this to make sure that Madoka's sleeping while she's gone, so that if Madoka's sleeping and can't be woken up, then Kyubey can't contract with her. Homura did not think about Kyubey going to Sayaka and saying, I can grant you any wish you want if you form a contract with me and become a magical girl. And at that point, after a while, Madoka's family is missing her. Everyone misses Madoka. Everyone's worried. Sayaka decides without hesitation to wish for Madoka to be with her, so that Madoka teleports right there to where Sayaka is. So Sayaka tells Madoka what happens, like, I made a wish with this thing to become a magical girl. I'm gonna defend truth and justice, and I used my wish to bring you here because everyone was so worried about you. Madoka immediately decides that since Sayaka spent a wish on her, she should become a magical girl too and fight by Sayaka's side, and also be able to defend herself if Homura ever tries to kidnap her again. So she decides she's going to wish to heal Kyosuke's hand. So Homura gets back from fighting witches. She sees Madoka's gone. She's like, what now? She decides, I need to figure out what happened here, because there is no way she was awake to contract with Kyubey. She goes there. She sees Sayaka and Madoka, and it just immediately shows up. They're both in magical girl form. They're ready for a fight. Homura just looks at Sayaka dead in the eye and say, you just had to get involved, didn't you? You freaking raspberry. And they're kind of confused by that statement, but Homura just immediately resets time again. And this time, when she kidnaps Madoka, she kidnaps Sayaka too. So Homura is going on for like about a week or two. She is fighting witches during the day, and at night she wakes up Madoka and feeds them, lets them walk around her apartment for a bit so they stretch their legs. She doesn't want them getting bed sores or anything. She's trying to keep them healthy. She repeatedly explains to them, I'm sorry, I know this is unforgivable, but I am doing this for your own good. At the end of the month, I will let you two go. Just promise me, if you see a white rabbit cat looking thing that promises you a wish in exchange for a contract, kill it. Just kill it. Throw it out a window. Just don't listen to it. So they're like, they're really afraid of Homura at this point. Like, Madha thinks Homura isn't going to hurt them. She thinks Homura's probably an insane person that needs help, but does not want to hurt them. Sayaka would probably try to escape a couple of times, but none of them would work, considering Homura would be watching them like a hawk, and it would go on like that for a bit. Before Kyubey decides to go and tell Mommy, you know those two girls at your school that went missing that everyone's worried about? Another magical girl kidnapped them! So after school ends, Mommy heads over to Homura's place like Kyubey told her to, and she goes in. She sees Homura with the two of them. She immediately ties up Homura with her ribbons and is asking Madoka and Sayaka if they're okay. Now, Madoka and Sayaka are really confused. They have no idea what's going on. They're really freaked out. They're like too stunned to even really speak. So Mommy sees that Sayaka and Madoka are unharmed. Homura at this point starts breaking. She is incredibly stressed, and she knows she's doing the wrong thing, but she's trying to do it for the right reasons. So she starts sobbing to Mommy how she's trying to protect them, how she's doing this to keep them safe, and that she's trying so hard to keep them safe, and that this is the only way she can think of to keep them safe. Now, Mommy interprets this as Homura being a magical girl like her, who is trying to protect every single civilian she possibly can, and that Homura just couldn't take it, and something snapped, and she just thinks the only way to keep civilians safe from witches is to keep them in her house. Now, at this point, I think Mommy would feel a bit of a strange sense of camaraderie with Homura and start letting her down, undoing the ropes, and trying to comfort her, saying, it's going to be okay, we can protect everyone together, you made a mistake, I understand. Homura freezes time the second the ribbons are loose enough for her to do it. Now, at this point, Homura is kind of trying to desperately save this plan, and it's just falling apart. So Homura decides, okay, I have to take Mommy's soul gem. I'm going to get it far enough away from her so that her body won't work anymore, and I'm just going to use that as a plan for right now. So when Homura goes to do that, she grabs Mommy's soul gem off her body, but then she thinks, wait a second, my shield is magic. I can store all these weapons in it. What happens if I put a soul gem in? She puts Mommy's soul gem in her shield, and being in the shield makes it so it's not connected to Mommy's body anymore. So she unfreezes time. Mommy drops like a sack of potatoes. Madoka and Sayaka are terrified. Homura tells them that Mommy is not dead, that she is just going to keep her safe. She's going to keep her safe from the most terrifying thing Mommy could ever face, and that's the truth. So Madoka and Sayaka are kind of nodding along like, yeah, okay, yeah, we get it. Yeah, everything's cool. So she continues on with this. She's using her soul gem and her magic to keep Mommy's body safe. And this is starting to wear on her because not only is she fighting witches during the day, keeping Mommy's body from rotting, she's also watching Madoka and Sayaka whenever they're awake because she doesn't want them to be asleep for too long because she doesn't want to start hurting their health. So Homura is not getting a lot of sleep. She is sleep deprived, and that is not a good thing because sleep deprivation is really scary because it can make you do really stupid things. Like that time at 2 a.m. when I thought ordering a box filled with 30 cinnamon buns was a good idea. So Kyubey goes to get Kyoko. Because at this point, Kyubey's like, I gotta try and get in control of this somehow. I don't even know what this girl is trying to do anymore. He goes to Kyoko and tells Kyoko there's a magical girl and she kidnapped 2 high school students and Mommy tried to save them and she has Mommy too. And at that point, Kyoko's a little worried about Mommy because even though they ended their friendship on bad terms, she's still worried about her a bit. And she's actually scared because, okay, this is a magical girl who managed to take on Mommy. So this is very intimidating for her. Kyubey, tries to sweeten the deal, tells her, oh, there's probably a reward out for these 2 girls that went missing. And Kyoko's thinking, okay, I could find these girls. I could say I found them in the middle of the woods and get the reward, buy a bunch of food. And now Kyoko's kind of formulating this little fantasy in her head of she goes there, she saves the girls, she gets the reward money, she saves Mommy. Mommy's going to Kyoko, oh Kyoko, I was so wrong, you were right, I'm so sorry about our fight, I should have listened to you, you were right about everything. So Kyoko decides, yeah, she can do this, she can handle this, because 1, she would get reward money, 2, she would probably regain Mommy's friendship, and 3, she would taking on a potential threat that is another magical girl who is incredibly dangerous. And it's better to just nip that bud before it gets out of control. Well, even more out of control. So Kyoko decides to be a bit more smart about this than Mommy because she's not going to blindly rush into this. She goes to where Kyubey says she lives, asks for descriptions Kyubey's oh, she has long black hair, purple eyes. Okay, so Kyoko's hiding out. She's staking out Homura's place. She sees Homura leaving. She keeps track. She gets Homura's schedule down. She's okay, she leaves during the day. She comes back at night. Kyoko waits until one night Homura leaves. She gives it some time so she doesn't have to worry about Homura coming back because she forgot something. She goes in to try and rescue the others. Now, she doesn't realize that she set off the alarm that goes to Homura's phone and lets her know that someone is either trying to leave or trying to get into her apartment. Kyoko breaks in. She goes and checks on Madoka and Sayaka, tries waking them up. She sees that they're still breathing, but she figures, okay, they're drugged or under some kind of spell or something that's keeping them asleep. She goes over to Mommy. She sees that Mommy isn't breathing. She starts freaking out. She checks for a pulse. There isn't one. She thinks Mommy is dead. She is freaking out. Homura gets there. Homura freezes time, takes Kyoko's soul gem, puts it in her shield. Now she is keeping both Mommy and Kyoko from rotting, along with taking care of Madoka, Sayaka, and fighting witches during the day. So Homura is running on barely any sleep. And I think that because she's a magical girl, she doesn't necessarily need sleep in the physical sense, but regardless of whether you physically need it or not, as a human being or magical girl, you will mentally need to sleep in order to give your mind a chance to rest. So Homura's sleep privation is just getting worse, and as a result, her plan is just getting worse and worse because she doesn't really have a plan at this point. So she keeps doing this. She's got grief seeds. She's using them so quickly though. She is using when she uses a grief seed to purify her soul gem, it looks like she's doing a line of coke. That's just what it seems like because of how desperate she is for it. Because that's like all that she's got going for her right now. She's like, okay, just got to keep my soul gem pure. Just got to keep the plan rolling. Everything's going to be fine. I am going to be in big trouble and face a lot of consequences when this is over. But as long as Madoka is safe, I am okay with that. Now, on the day of Walpurgis Night, she takes Madoka and Sayaka. They're still drugged. They're still sleeping. She takes them down to the center where everyone's going to be hiding out. And she finds an empty room or something, and she puts them in there. And she's like, they won't wake up until after the battle's over, but they'll be safe there. She goes and grabs Mami and Kyoko's bodies, drags them out to where they're going to fight Walpurgis Night, gives them back their soul gems. They wake up. They immediately are freaked out. Weren't they in a different room just now? What happened to the hostages? What's going on? They go to turn on Homura. Homura puts her hands up in the air and just says, you can do whatever you want to me when this is over. Whatever consequences you think I should face, I deserve them. I have done horrible things. And I still think that I needed to do them, but I know I need to be punished for them. But please, whatever you have in store for me, take care of that first. She points behind them. They see Walpurgis Night. And now Kyoko and Mami are really freaking out because they have no idea what's going on. There's a giant witch destroying the city, and they are really confused. They decide that rather than focus on Homura, they decide to focus on the witch first, because that's destroying the whole city. Now, they go to fight Walpurgis Night, and it is not going well. They are messy and disoriented because, one, Kyoko and Mami are really confused about everything, and two, they are constantly watching their backs. They are half focused on the battle, half focused on looking over their shoulder to see what Homura is doing, because they do not trust her at all. They don't even really trust each other, since this is the first time they've seen each other since their fight. Now, Homura is not doing so hot either. She is exhausted from trying to keep everything together this past month. Between fighting witches during the day, taking care of Madoka and Sayaka at night, shooting any Kyubeis that show up, and keeping Mami's and Kyoko's bodies from rotting, Homura is mentally and physically exhausted. She is getting so incredibly sloppy with this fight. She is getting hit by attacks that she should have been able to dodge, and she is missing her targets when she tries to shoot at them. She is lagging behind the others and desperately trying to keep up. Her soul gem is pure, but the rest of her is exhausted. Now, this can end two ways. Either Mami and Kyoko are killed by Walpurgis Night and Homura resets time. Or, despite how disoriented and confused they all are, they manage to kill Walpurgis Night, but right afterwards, Mami and Kyoko become witches because they used so much of their energy fighting Walpurgis Night. And Homura at that point realizes there's no way she can take on their two witches after fighting Walpurgis Night in the pathetic state she is currently in. So Homura resets time. Now, she's in the hospital bed, and she wakes up, and she opens her eyes, and immediately registers, I'm in a bed right now, and passes out. By the time she wakes up, she's slept for a few hours, and she thinks, oh my god, what was I doing? Homura realizes that this was a plan doomed from the start, and the only reason she kept going with it for as long as she did was out of desperation and the stupidity induced from sleep deprivation. Sleep deprivation is a scary thing, okay? One time I was waking up at 5:30 to go to work. I had only had 4 hours of sleep. I thought there was a demon in the backseat of my car. I rest my case. So Homura decides that she should not try kidnapping Madoka again because she just can't keep up with all the variables involved. And even if she did succeed in keeping Madoka safe and preventing her from contracting until Walpurgis Night was defeated, The consequences Homura would face for kidnapping Madoka would keep her from protecting Madoka. She wouldn't be there to stop Madoka from contracting with Kyubey after Walpurgisnacht's defeat. So, that's why kidnapping Madoka is a bad idea. But I guess Homura did it anyway in Rebellion, so maybe now that you're the devil, it will work out better for you. Good luck, Homura. You're really gonna need it. Everyone should check out the Puella Magi Wiki. It's where I find a lot of my images and double-checked all the facts I have from reading the manga and watching the animes. Also, they have this really cool page on Specula. That's where I got the idea about Homura kidnapping Madoka before I started seeing a bunch of fans suggesting it was the best way for her to handle everything. They have this whole page dedicated to Let's Predict the Ending, where it goes over a bunch of theories about how the anime would have ended. Some are even darker than kidnapping.